Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I'm Daniel Chamberlain, co-host, here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Coach, another fantastic week. Season is upon us, just about. Practice is 2 weeks away for us. I think y'all are right around that time. Shoot, y'all's might start like this week or something, right?
Yep.
That's crazy to me.
Not me, but yeah. I want to say yesterday or today was when Heights started. Again, I'm not coaching this year, so
It's so hot out here. I can't imagine.
So I should preface that. Supposed to start. We've been under heat advisory until 8 p.m. every day. So I don't know what they're actually doing. I know we've been under heat advisory every day until 8 p.m. We'll be until Friday. We had planned a month ago, at least 2 months ago, had planned for what is tomorrow. So it's been at least 2 months we planned it because we were at the beach to go play golf tomorrow afternoon. And so I through our pool, I get I can play like private courses around here. We don't have I'm a member of a tennis club. I don't play tennis. I'm working on it, but we have reciprocity with some local private golf courses. And so we're like, and some of my friends are good golfers and I have clubs. And so we were going to do that. It's been planned for months. And Monday I was just like, look, I got to make a call and confirm this. Are we doing this? And it was basically just an agreement that would be absolute suicide to play it.
Yeah.
It's 2:30, 3 o'clock on in the afternoon. And so I don't know when it'll happen. So Friday, we're supposed to hit a break and get 80 degrees, a little bit of rain, but finally get a break. I mean, It's been, my truck, I have an old F-150, old 2001 F-150, and, it sits a lot. And so it doesn't get washed. It's a truck, but it is, there's a point where it just has to be washed or you can't see it. So I tried to do just like a few weeks ago, I tried to do it. It was cool down that day. And I tried to do like a quick wash on it, and it's beyond a quick wash. And it started pouring down rain as I was doing it. I got the hood, the top, which is usually the worst part. I got the top done, not the hood, but the roof done, and it's an elbow grease type of deal. And it's just been out there with a clean hood, clean roof, and everything else just waiting for that day. So hopefully maybe this weekend I'll be able to get out. And we've had storms, man. I know you guys have worse storms probably, but we've had storms, man, that just been knocking. I've never had it like this. We got a lot of trees around and stuff. And I mean, one of the first storms that knocked a tree across our front door, knocked my neighbor's tree, brought my neighbor's tree all the way down, big branch off of our neighbor's tree, brought all the way down across our front door. Neighbor got his chainsaw, and because my buddy was in town and we were out to dinner, he got his chainsaw, and I mean, he had to use a chainsaw, couldn't cut this gigantic, it just missed the house, cut this gigantic branch down. I mean, I kept it, but he cut it away from the door, and then I went out and cut it up, kept it for firewood, and so I mean, that was the first one, but it's just been, we've been getting hit so much. The back of my truck is just loaded with branches right now, waiting to go, take them to the, whatever, it's not the dump, but where you take the branches and everything, and take those up there. And we knocked a panel off of my shed, and I haven't put that up yet because it just get knocked back down. Every week we've been having these storms. It's been knocking branches down, knocking just havoc. So
it's crazy.
It's been a rough summer.
Getting rain in the end of July was pretty awesome, and then here we are banging it through the beginning of August. When this episode comes out, I think we'll be 4 days deep into practice. I think we're supposed to get some rain moving in, so hopefully we've got to start practice. I'll let you know in 2 weeks.
I still cannot believe that, because I'll tell you, it's hot outside, but again, I mean, it's been real hot, but I grew up in Georgia, and the heat in Virginia has never really bothered me. And I just cannot, you guys in Georgia and Florida, and I'm sure Texas and stuff, that the heat with the humidity, especially, maybe, Georgia especially, and I'm sure Florida, but the heat coupled with the humidity, we started practice in July, and I don't know how. And we didn't get
back then, or no.
Well, and there was the water trough, which was the hose stuck into the little pipe thing, and it was still mid 90s. It was still water's you don't need a lot of it, right? It wasn't like we got a ton of water breaks. We were out there. I mean, at least we went inside for the middle practice. We always had 3. We practiced all day.
Right.
We were there all day. And I mean, there was a morning practice, there was a 1 to 3 practice, and then there was an afternoon night practice, whatever it was. I want to say it was like 12 to 2 and 4 to 6 or something like that. But I mean, like 7 to, it was all day. And I just don't know. I don't remember it being that bad, honestly. But I don't remember, I don't know how it didn't
we spent
turn
a lot
out
more time outside back then too. We're probably just a little bit better acclimated.
Maybe.
Thinking back. Yeah, it's insane. People are starting before August. Tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about developing a strong coaching staff. I'm sure you read the title. You feel like you're coaching alone, and unfortunately, that's how some guys are. Legitimately, that's how, like, some. I have a brother-in-law who is a football coach that literally was the only coach on staff for an 8-man school here in Oklahoma. So sometimes you are just coaching alone. But if you're not, but you feel like you are, this is an episode for you. We're going to talk about developing your philosophy and systems, communicating with your coaching staff, and then getting buy-in from that entire coaching staff. Joe, let's do our level ups real quick.
I've got level ups cooking, right? I've got level ups that I don't want. They haven't come to fruition yet. They're right. Cooking. So if you use them now, then like you can't use it again when it's cooked and it's ready to deliver. So my buddy came to town, my best friend, he was best man at the wedding or anything like that. He came to town this past weekend, so that was great. We went with a few of our other friends, maybe in lieu of our golf trip. But just, I mean, he's in Alexandria. I see him, now I see him, several times a year. After years when he was in El Paso and he was at Fort Bliss, and he was at Fort Drum, then so he's defended both borders, the northern and southern border. And then he was in England for 3 years where we, saw him probably, I don't know, twice. He was in England. Went to England 2020, so there was like no seeing. It was like, cool, get to go to England and travel, and it was like, oh, see you in 3 years, buddy. So and then I had a kid. Like when he finally opened up, I had a kid. So it's nice that he's in Alexandria now and I get to see him more often. But he came down. His wife, who was from Marietta, where I'm from, was back home, and so he came down for the weekend and hung out and. That was great. So it was a good time. Get to get those weekends where you get to pretend that it is 2005 again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are always good times. You don't want them to end, though.
We were, and once again, one of the main plans was to go to a Flying Squirrels game, which is our AA baseball team. And on Friday afternoon, it was like, we ain't going out there. That place ain't got no shade. We ain't going out there.
Mike D, the referee, hit me up the other day and said he had gone to one of those games and he was looking for your number so he can invite you out for a cold beer after it or whatever. But
oh man,
I don't know if he ever got a hold of you or not.
I don't think so.
Going and sitting out and watching baseball right now has got to be miserable.
It sucks because we haven't been. I don't think I've been this season. My son hasn't been in a while. We're making plans to maybe go to like a Nats Braves in September, which will be fun, but also meaningless because they're both horrible right now, which is killing me. But we just get to a baseball game. But yeah, it's a tough ass to go, and especially like to take a little kid, to take a 3-year-old out there and have him out. Like I don't know where the line is on child abuse, and he don't care. But because we go to the pool and he's having the time, we're like, we're at the pool and he's in the kids' pool, which is 2 feet deep or whatever. And he's splashing around, having a great time. And we're like, can we please, do you want to go to the big pool? You want to go to the big pool? You can go on the slide. You can do anything you want. But we can just get in the 5-foot deep water and get our bodies submerged here, not in kid pee.
Oh, man.
Tough.
That's good. I'm changing my level up on the fly.
You don't want to use the one that's cooking, right? Save it.
Right. Well, yeah, we'll see. I have to have some consistency in that portion of my life first, and then I'll talk about it.
Right. Yeah.
We did do. I
could have used one. I had one.
Ah, dang. You have to write it down.
I got one that kind of cooked. I'll save it.
There we go. I did something the other day that all right. So I think a big part of growing up as a man is when you finally get to start taking care of a lawn, right? That's kind of like a rite of passage is when you have a good thick Bermuda grass, or whatever choice. But Yeah, it's Bermuda around here.
It's fascinating, I think.
We moved in this house 5 years ago, and they had a little Bermuda out front, and you could tell like where they took a pasture and cut out like this, I don't know, maybe 80 by 80 square, built a house, and then the rest is like, they'd gone out and sodded it. So then just beyond that is just weeds and gross. And so for 5 years, I've not really taken care of it because we've just been busy.
Yep.
Anyway, the weeds and gross have taken over my Bermuda. So this year, my brother's, he does that for a living. He sprays and does lawn and care and all that, but he's like, 5 hours away from me. So he's not going to do mine, but he finally told me what chemicals to get. And I got some stuff. It's like $650 for a gallon or something. It's so expensive, but I mixed it up and put it out, and 80% of my yard died overnight. Every weed, every not Bermuda out there is gone. So there's just like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a dirt yard for the rest of the summer unless this Bermuda has some time to kick in. I got to fertilize it. But finally, just taking the time. We got a good sprayer last year, and I tried to kind of mess around with it, but I didn't get pre-emergent down. So now it's all anyway, life has been crazy for my yard. And it's very brown out there. So it's nice. Yeah. I got a little bit more to finish. On the homestead front, we also finally, we hope, we had some sick goats. And if any of you out there have livestock, you know that like everything's fine, something dying. Like, what is going on? And it was just one. And so we've been fighting a worm that is resistant to everything that everyone uses for worms for goats. So I know it's kind of gross, but whatever. Anyway, so we've had this parasite, couldn't get rid of it. I think we finally, AI, ChatGPT comes to the rescue. I was like, listen, barber pole worms are eating our lunch. What do I do? And it was like, use these 3 different times. I was using 3 wormers, but they were all the exact same thing, basically, with different brands, and I didn't know. So it told me to use 3 different ones. I bought them. I used them. The worms are dying, so it's great. The goats look happy.
My side, so maybe this is my side level up is Shem, who edits these podcasts and who will see this. I use so much ChatGPT. I've always been like, use ChatGPT. Let's just run through ChatGPT. We're doing this stuff, and we had a problem with one of our sales funnels, and I was like, it's basically the one running some ads to Facebook, and we were running it to an existing page, and it was like, okay, we don't know, how do we know whether or not these people are, these people coming from Facebook, what they're doing as compared to somebody who comes from the podcast, and and it was like, how do we make sure that they're downloaded? So I sent a video, and I went through the whole thing, and I was, that's basically how I communicate with my team, is just I do like a Loom video, and then I'll send it, and if I need something done or whatever. And this one, I was just like, this is my thoughts on it, but I don't know the solution. And I got a message from Shem that was like, this is what ChatGPT says. And I was like, that's good. But like this, this is what I want. This is like, thank you. Like, this is great. So finally, like, we have, not that she's never used ChatGPT before, but like, we are now a team of problem solvers who just go like,
ChatGPT it.
GPT.
I saw the other day, it said like 90% of people that are using ChatGPT it's just Google 2.0. They're just like, what's the capital of France? Right. But
yeah, I mean, in one respect, it's that, but like, Google 2.0, where, I just, the example is obviously with my business, I try to keep track of, I don't worry about competitors, but I want to see what other people are doing as competitors. But like, I want to see what other people are doing. Like, obviously, we've had them on the show. Like, how many people have we had on the show? Like Kenny and Ron Mackey and Rick, and the number of people I've had on. And I know, like, I've had conversations with Wade and everybody that's been around. And I always try to keep track of. I've spoken to laser clinics and always recommending laser clinics and everything. So don't go to the Baltimore one. At least don't bring your car. Right. Just Uber to the Baltimore one. Like, fly in or park somewhere outside, an Uber. But anyway, keep track of that stuff. And it used to be like trying different Google searches, because not everybody who would be in that space has great Google rankings, right?
Right.
So I can't just be like football coaching systems and expect everybody who's got one to show up. But I can go to ChatGPT and be like, tell me who's doing this, tell me who's doing that. And it's like, I don't know if they probably don't get it all, but like, I can just ask the question and they'll run 10,000 searches and be, ChatGPT will run 10,000 searches and be like, here's what I found. And, it's, here's what Kenny's doing. And I'm like, okay, that son of a, all right, got it. I'm going to start attacking that, So
it's the future. It's crazy.
It's great. So anyway, we talk enough ChatGPT. It is great. It is great.
Awesome. Last week, we talked about our players aren't executing on game day. If y'all remember, we said that is the last episode of Season 18. We are officially here in Season 19, so welcome to the season. We used to do a 0 thing.
We did, I know, but usually 0 was like just a, throwaway or something we weren't planning or whatever. And this one hitting in the middle of August is not a time for a throwaway, right?
No, well, maybe
like Christmas week we'll do a throwaway and we'll just call that like,
yeah,
18.5 or something. But like mid-August is not the time for a throwaway episode.
It's a good point.
Kind of where it came out, and it doesn't matter. We could have done more episodes in episode 18. Mid-July, throwaway episode, fine. But mid-July, that would have been like, episode 18 or something.
A month ago. Yeah.
It didn't make sense. So it just didn't make sense to do the throwaway, let's talk about Madden episode or something like.
For sure. Timing, right?
Yep.
Timing is everything. Next week, we'll be talking about our offensive line getting overpowered and really just building a dominant O-line with what you got. So that'll be a really fun episode. Me being an O-line guy nowadays, that's really the group I've resonated with the most. So I'm excited for that one. One quick thing. If this podcast helps you coach better, help us help others. Share this with another coach. Share it with a parent. Share it with your staff. Joe used to talk about just look up the YouTube and leave it playing on a screen and walk out of the room. Like, there are ways to get the podcast into the ears of your fellow coaches. Because we all know that, like, if you walk in, hey guys, listen to this podcast, people just don't. It's weird.
I know some of you guys drive to the game and stuff. Like,
hey,
the boss just
made one of my best friends in the world doing that. I turned it on the way to our very first game at Stillwell, and he was like, "Oh, that's you." It is.
Yeah.
And now we're besties. Anyway, share it with anybody who loves the game.
A little weird when it's you. Like, I've never done that to somebody, but.
Well, he was like, can we listen to your podcast?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
It wasn't like.
You were just like.
Just put myself on.
Slowly turning your own podcast on.
How many miles can I drive before he thinks that's me? No,
Yeah.
It wasn't anything like that. Anyway, it was good. Let's pay the bills and get on with it here, Joe.
Let's do it. All right. Whoop. There we go. Whoop. There we go. Whoop. What is happening right here? Have you guys so here's my not paying the bills thing. For you guys that have updated to, are you on Windows 11 or are you still on 10?
I went to 11 a year ago.
I like 11 for the most part. I have no complaints with 11. And this isn't even a complaint. It's just different. Notepad now like keeps everything in tabs. And so every time you open Notepad, like I used to just open Notepad, type some stuff out, close Notepad and be like, do you want to save it? Like, no, this is just Scratchpad for me. It keeps everything in the tabs now. So I got like 87 tabs of Notepad. When I open it up now, I got to go and, edit that. But what matters is the difference between a championship defense and a defense struggling every Friday night is not just talent and it's not luck. It's your system. Without a system, you scramble every week trying to fix problems on the fly. Your players are confused. Your assistants aren't on the same page. And your defense is constantly playing from its heels. I've worked with over 10,000 football coaches, and many are making the same mistake, overcomplicating football, running a stack of plays with no reason behind it, just calling front stunt blitzes and coverages from the seat of your pants. And once we get those coaches putting a real defensive system in place, everything changes. The players play faster, the coaches have more confidence, and you start winning more football games. That's why I put together my latest free guide, What You Need to Know to Build the Ultimate Defensive Football Coaching System. Inside that guide, you're going to get the blueprint for building a defensive system that works so you can simplify your playbook, get your players to buy in, and take control of the game. You can download your free copy right now at joedanielfootball.com/system to take the guesswork out of coaching, build your ultimate defensive system, and turn your football program around this season. By the way, my latest guide will be out soon.
I love it.
Latest guide.
Awesome. Athletic speed and movement. We know that speed wins games. So I need to know, are you fast enough? Is your team fast enough? If you're an athlete, a coach, a parent, you already know the fastest players dominate the field. But speed isn't just about talent. It is a skill that you can train. At Athletic Speed and Movement, we teach athletes how to get faster, quicker, more explosive using proven methods that actually work on the field. Our system is built by Del Basquet, who understands what it takes to be at the top level because that's where he got his start, was at the highest level. Is the very first speed coach in the NFL. Whether you're a coach looking to level up your team, a parent wanting to give your kid an edge, an athlete that thinks that they need to get better, this is where speed starts. Go to athleticspeedmovement.com today and get signed up. Discover how real, it changed and now I don't like it. Discover how to build real speed that shows up on game day. Don't just play the game, outrun it.
Nice. There it is.
Let's go.
There it is.
I'm with it. There you go, athleticspeedmovement.com. Let's jump into part one here. So we're talking tonight about feel like you're coaching alone. Your coaching system isn't, or your coaching staff isn't really helping you, or you don't think they are. Heard a really good conversation today by Bill Blankenship talking about expectations versus reality. And sometimes that's where you are. Your expectations and the actual reality just aren't at the same place. So here in part one, we're going to talk about developing your philosophy and systems. Joe, talk to me about what does it mean to actually build out a philosophy? I know you have an entire thing you could pitch here, right? Like coaching philosophy. And how do we pair that with the systems we're running and the way we operate our program?
Well, I think the big thing here is just it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. And yeah, we have the Coaching Philosophy Masterclass, which is available in the JDFB store, which has a 3-module course on building your coaching philosophy, and that accompanies the 27-day coaching philosophy challenge, which is a day-by-day, like 10-minute video and a workbook that you use to put together that coaching philosophy. The thing is that you don't really have to do all of that right now, but in order to get other coaches on staff to go with you, to buy into the things that you want to do, whether you are a position assistant, I think it's important to mention here is that we're talking whether you're an assistant, position assistant, JV coach, or you're a coordinator or you're a head coach. This is the feeling of, I guess we should step back and talk about what it means to feel like you are coaching alone, what we're really talking about. It's that feeling that you have that it comes in a lot of forms. So I have youth coaches that we work with who are investing all of this time, investing money, investing hours, and they're listening to the podcast. They're, purchasing, investing in their coaching education. They are studying. They're coming up with new ideas. They're a football junkie. They're committed to this thing. They're showing up to work. They've got a plan. They've got a system. And then they've got 3 or 4 dads who help out when they can. Not bad guys. They're not lazy. They just have, they're trying to help he needs some other adult supervision. There's nobody else willing to commit this time, but thankfully there are a few of the dads who are willing to show up when they can.
Right.
And so the feeling is I'm here working my butt off. A lot of these guys understand, like, these other guys aren't bad. They just, like, they don't want to be a football coach, right? They're doing it because they're a dad and, their kid is on this team and they'll show up when they can. And so the alone feeling is when these guys show up, what do I have them do that is going to contribute to this team and not waste my time, not waste their time, not waste the kids' time? The last thing you want to do is send them with those dads and just say, occupy them for a little bit, because they're going to waste. And that's where you end up with not having the buy-in, because they're going to know that one of two things is going to happen. That dad is going to teach them something that he learned in his playing days that has no relevance to your system and the plan and all the work that you've done. Or He's going to teach them something that's just going to confuse them, or they're not going to know, or they're not going to understand, or he doesn't know, or he doesn't understand, or he feels confused. And if a coach is confused, he's going to say things that confuse the kids, and it's going to sabotage your program. Either way, it's going to sabotage your program. You're not going to get buy-in when half the team knows they're going with a dad who doesn't really know what's going on and wasting their time at practice. Yeah. So that's number one. That's feeling like you're coaching alone, and it's very detrimental. Another one is an experience that you have had where you have put the time and the effort and the energy into learning, modern, we'll just say modern coaching. We'll say right or wrong, but modern coaching. And you have guys who are doing things essentially the way they've always done it. And they're not interested in learning new things. They're not interested in new ideas, or they're stuck in old ways, even though those old ways maybe aren't working or aren't producing the results that they should be producing. And you feel like, at least that's the perception, and you feel like you are coaching alone. And that can either be, again, being an assistant on staff and feeling like you get it and nobody else does, or being a head coach on staff who feels like you get it and nobody else does. So again, there's two ways. That's the two main ways of coaching alone, I think. We're not necessarily, again, I feel like I'm coaching alone, not I'm coaching alone. So I know that there are some of you that are coaching alone, literally coaching alone.
Yeah.
And I had a discussion with one of our coaches from the UK about, he's got two coaches, and he's coaching an adult program. And it was like, you got to make those adults be coaches at times now, because they're going to be, hopefully they're bought in because they want to get better. So at least a few of them. So now it goes to, in order to make this work from either standpoint, if you're the guy at the top who's coaching alone and you've got to get everybody else to go with you, recommend, introduce them to the football coaching podcast, introduce them to JDFB, introduce them to other coaches, maybe take them to a clinic with you when you're off season, whatever's available, try. But the fact of the matter is, most of those guys, it's not a situation where, look, we all know that if we wanted to learn something, it ain't hard to find it. Right. You don't even have to know ChatGPT. We can still use Google. Like, I think Yahoo still has a search engine. We can figure this stuff out. We can go to YouTube and we can watch stuff. And sometimes that's what happens, is we got people who are just scrolling YouTube and Twitter, and they're not learning anything but, just scrolling. And they're in the coach porn era. The coach porn era is when you're just looking at, posts on Instagram and Twitter that aren't really helping anybody, but it's entertainment. But at least that's an entry, it's like an entry level drug to learning new things. But so you can try to get them to change their ways, right? In that they suddenly become the football junkie that you are, and have the thirst for knowledge that you do. And, you can try. You should try. But most of the time it's not going to happen. Just being honest. Like, most of the time it's not going to happen. The other way to do it is to have your beliefs and have your philosophy and have your systems in place and cemented so well. If you're the guy at the top who has the guys underneath you who are, not as committed, that you can explain to them in a very simple, easy to understand way, just like you need to explain to the players, teach the players, that you have tools in place that you can explain to them, that they go, oh, okay, got it. And then you can put these things in place, and that's what we're talking about when we get into the, communicating with your staff. But you can't do that unless you have the philosophy and the systems developed in your mind. By the same token, if you're a position coach, new coach, young coach, assistant coach, maybe you're a coordinator who got hired as a coordinator by a head coach who's not willing to let go and give you free reign that you think you should have. Which, by the way, I think that it's way overrated thinking that head coaches should just give all the coordinators free reign. Like, this is his show. Nobody knows your name when you're a coordinator at a high school or a youth or whatever. When you're in that position, having the understanding of your philosophy and your system and the things that you believe, and having it so clear and understood that you can apply it to what somebody else wants to do. So that's where the thing that you have to do is you have to develop what your beliefs are as a coach. Philosophically, not necessarily X's and O's, but also X's and O's. What are the things that you truly believe? And if you have that down, and I mean not just like we're like if you're thinking like I know my philosophy is we're a 4-4 defense. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it at all. Like, my philosophy is not we're a 4-2-5 defense or we're a 3-3 defense. My offensive philosophy is not we're a pistol power offense. Like, that's not my offensive philosophy at all. My offense fits my philosophy. But I could take another off. You could be like, well, if I worked for a head coach who was like, we're going to be a wing T. If I really wanted to coach, which if I really wanted to do it, I could go do it. And I would make the wing T. I would make the spread. I would make anything fit with my philosophy. I love double wing. So that's not it. I'm not talking about but then once you have your system, you have to know it so well that you can teach it teach the key points and the key factors and have tools within it that are able to just be picked up quickly by somebody who doesn't care to go learn stuff. Again, with like JDFB, we had the platinum membership, right? And a lot of coaches, and when I first started out, I used to think this was the way, right? Get your coaches, lock them in a room, make them sit. And I think at a certain level, this is the way. Like, if you're varsity head coach and you've got paid assistants, lock them in a room, make them learn this stuff. This is your job. I'm paying you. So I don't care how much you have to learn, but you got to learn this. I mean, you got to learn this. I don't care if you don't want to. I'm paying you. You got to learn this. But for the vast majority of people who are having this problem, most of the time you got paid assistants, they're willing to put in some work. Not all, but most. But when you're working with guys who are volunteers and unpaid, or JV assistants and young guys who don't really even understand the stuff and don't understand the importance and all that sort of stuff, with those guys, you got to be able to teach them the key points, the high points, teach it to them fast so that they understand enough to be able to teach it to the kids. I don't need to be a football expert. I need to be able to teach this kid how to do this thing.
Yeah. When we're talking philosophy and we're talking, I'm even just thinking more system. Like, that's how people learn, right? You have to build foundationally. I think a lot of our job is developing other coaches. It's the part that I've fallen in love with more than anything, because I'm a high school coach. I'm going to have a kid for 4 years and he's going to go on. Maybe, right? I might get him late, or he might transfer out and go somewhere else early. I don't know.
4 years is a stretch.
So I think these coaches, pouring into them and helping them become better is like, that's my new favorite part of the game. But you're going to have systems. You have to have a way to explain, a way to detail, a way to build foundation up, all of these things that you're wanting to get done. And Joe, you said there's a lot of coaches out there that aren't going to go listen to podcasts. They're not going to go search YouTube and find out how to run another version of a thing. They don't care, right? We're going to run a 2-generation old system because that's what we've always done.
So we know.
And getting them to think about expanding or evolving is often very hard. So I 100% get the sentiment of feeling like you're coaching alone. I don't know that I've ever been there. I bet my first head coach was, because I was useless that year.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know that we had anybody on staff that was really taking anything off his plate. So his plate was loaded with a staff of 4. But it's the same thing. He didn't really have his philosophy. He didn't have his systems built up to where he could be like, this is what we believe in football. This is what we're trying to accomplish. It was like, hey, I played quarterback in college. This is the I formation system. We're going to run 21 personnel, and we're going to run power and counter, and we're going to throw these air raid routes. I didn't know what any of that crap was. That didn't mean anything to me.
Right.
But we didn't have that philosophy behind it. This is why I want to run I. This is why, because whatever his philosophy was, that didn't exist. his coaching system for me as the wide receivers coach is where I started was, hey, here's John Gruden's notebook of how to train a wide receiver. Go read it and do his 65 drills.
That's the only way that I thought would work. Yeah.
If you do this, we will have good wide receivers. And then I was like, I can't get in 3 of these before my time is up. How am I supposed to get through 65? Right. Like, so having something that makes sense for your situation, that's something that it has to be individualized for what you've got. That might mean what quality of player you have at each position. It might mean how much experience do you have with certain positions, right? Because if you don't have an O-line coach, you better go be the O-line coach. And it doesn't matter how much your system or philosophy you teach me, you better have a dadgum good O-line coach, whoever has to do it. But then who coaches the quarterback? And then who does this and who does that? So having something that lets guys learn from the ground up the reasons behind your wants behind their or for their position group does at least give them something to build on. If they're going to have to dig into Google, it's not like, give me 5 O-line drills. It's like, I need 5 O-line drills that fit this methodology. This is what we're trying to do. Yeah. Part 2, and this is a big part of that, right? And we're going to talk about communicating with your coaching staff, because I didn't even really think about my first coach until I started talking there. And I was like, holy crap, I actually have been through this. And I was not the solution that time. But he also probably didn't know how to communicate with us very well. He was a first-year head coach. Yeah. He tried to just do everything himself. Yeah. I mean, he made me the defensive coordinator, and then I think he just thought, I'll just have to go score 70, because there was not a lot of help on defense, right? Communicating those things. Now, as the season went on, we got more time to talk, but we also knew we were just trying to change a program to kind of a relational coaching, because that's what those kids needed. And so weirdly enough, that was individualized exactly what it needed. But I was learning on my own on the side and can go back and talk to him about, what about this? What about that? I remember the first week we played a wing tee or some type of a triple option team, flex bone maybe. I went and YouTubed and found how to stop. And I took him this really crazy way of stopping the triple option. And he was like, no, we're going to stop it the same way we always have. And that's, Mike has dive, outside backers got quarterback, roll down guys got safety, or whatever the rules for his system. I went out and found some other thing. But once again, I didn't know the philosophy. So it had not been communicated, even as the DC, like, you don't need to go solve all the world's problems. I want you to run this system. Here's how we stop triple option is a part of that philosophy. It's a part of your system. Anyway, so I'm interested to hear what you say about communicating with your coaching staff.
I thought, it's funny because you mentioned that, because over time with various coaches, I've always had the coaches who, anytime you're a coordinator and you have coaches who are actively involved, you'll get they'll send you the Twitter clip or something like, what about this? And not because I'm a great communicator necessarily, but kind of like almost over time, our coaches, I noticed coaches that I worked with started sending plays that were like, oh yeah, I would send them back and I'd be like, okay, we call this, because again, if it's something that fits in our system, I can make the call, I can make the formation, I can make the play. Okay, that's just 20, that's a toss, but it's going to be to the H-back, so it's going to be 38. It would be this formation, and it would be, and I'd be like, yeah, we can do that. I'm like, totally, we can do that. It's like, that's the play. That's the things where that happens when you're not coaching alone. When you're coaching alone, you get what you said, like, hey, what about this play? And you're like, what the frick is that? Like, how? Like, what is that? And you're just like, what? But when you're not coaching alone anymore, that's when you start getting like, here's plays that, here I saw this on Saturday, and they send you the play, and you're like, oh yeah, I like that. Doesn't mean we always do it, because there's still the coach simple and everything, but I'm like, I like that. And like, I'll take it and be like, put it up in our playbook software, and let's keep it in mind, right? Yeah. Stuff like that. So the communication with your staff, I think the important thing is that you need to find ways to communicate what you want and how you want it quickly. And so a lot of the tools that we have in JDFB, a lot of the things that we use, those are tools that are essentially for that communication. And so these tools kind of are the communication tools, but they're also the buy-in tools. But like, from a defensive standpoint, I always tell our coaches who have the youth guys, the dads, like, this is what you need to do with them. Get them when they show up. Can you give me 10 minutes? Can you give me 10 minutes? This is our defense. This is how they line up. Don't even worry about that. I'll handle teaching all of that. Because when you're here, we go to team time, like, just, be there and, be nice. I'll handle the alignment and all that sort of stuff because I'm the only one doing this thing. But this is the umbrella principle. Okay. And I'm going to teach you the philosophy of our defense. Spill, force, alley, whatever. And then when that guy shows up to work some indie drills for you and you got him for a day, you pull out the tool, which is the defensive drill system. And I always take all those drills, print the drill manual out, stick them in sheet protectors in a notebook, pull the one that you want them to do out, hand it to them, and say, here, this is the one I want you to run. And if you got time, pull your phone out and say, here it is, being run on the field, because our defensive drill system has the install film of the drill. Here's what it looks like on the field. Here's game film of this drill actually happening. Like, those are all tools, but I can, in 10 minutes, in a 10-minute, let me teach you the overall philosophy. And then when they show up, here's the drill I need you to run today. If they haven't done it before, here's what it looks like 5 minutes before practice. Or make a water break so I can show it to you. Go to water so I can show you too. I got there late. Okay. That's all that I need you to know for my purposes right now. This is how I'm going to use you, because this is the reality. I have to use you for what you are. You are a person who knows nothing. Maybe you played in high school. Maybe you played in college. I don't know, but you're not a football coach.
Right.
You're volunteering your time. I appreciate that. You're not volunteering anything out of the, hour and a half, 2 hours that we're at practice. I'm doing all of that work. So here's how I'm going to communicate to you exactly what I need from you for the half hour that I need something from you right now. Okay. Other than that, I need supervision, right? And you're a dad, so hopefully it's okay. So communicating those tools for communication quickly, being able to communicate on offense very quickly, what it is that I need for you to do as far as drills, or as far as, go run this route, have these things laid out in your offensive system. Here's the route I want you to work. I've got it on paper. I've got it, go work with the receivers, and here's the steps, how many, again, it can't be go work a curl route, right? Can you go work a curl route with these guys? Well, you're going to get God knows what, right? That doesn't mean anything to most people, and the people that it does, it may mean something completely different than you. They might run it as a hunt. They might run it as a post curl. They might do not enough steps, too many steps. They might teach yards if you don't teach. So, like, when I teach a curl route, here's what I need. I want you to go work a curl route with these guys for 10 minutes. Okay. Again, you're probably not running curl routes with your youth team, but this is just an example. Right. Curl route is 7 big steps. Outside foot back in the stance. I want 7 big steps, 2 little steps to break down, and I want to come back with their eyes to the quarterback, hands up, gets ball. 7 big, 2 little, come back to the quarterback. That's curl route. And that's what it needs to look like. And, you put that together and you can communicate that quickly. Tools like ASCA that we use in JDFB obviously is a big one. The ASCA tools are quick communication, where I can say, this is the alignment stance key read assignment for this position. This is what they need to know. Or this is the alignment stance key read and communication assignment for this position. This is what they need to know. This is what I need them to do. This is on this play. This is what they do, who they've got, what happens with it. Everything is laid out and, very specific what they need to know. And that advances, obviously, we're not all just working with dads that just show up. Right now, I've got a coach who's going to be my assistant coach the entire year. He's just new, or he comes from a different philosophy. And I have very specific, detailed instruction on what this looks like, what this means. And then also your philosophy will help you greatly with understanding my philosophy, as an offensive coordinator, having the rest of the staff understand my philosophy. the pieces of my philosophy. The coach simple. Okay. I want it to be simple. I want it, so we can play fast. The 5-minute install. If we can't install it in one period, we're not doing it. So if you come up with a fancy idea and you can't figure out how to install it in one period, it's probably a waste of time to bring it up. I could probably figure out how to install it in one period, but I'm probably not going to do it, right? If it's not really simple. My philosophy of the 9-minute practice plan, and that's another tool that you can use, is a detailed practice plan. Because at the very least, I can't have you being lost during practice. This is what's expected of you. Even better when you're with your assistants and your coaching staff, is having a practice plan that's ready ahead of time. Because if I'm a new assistant coach and I don't know anything, and I at least know enough to know that you're going to ask me to do things that I don't know. Maybe I think I know more, but I don't. I know you're going to ask me to do something, and I want to know at least I can go figure it out ahead of time, or say, hey, I don't know what this is.
Yes.
We can get that explained. So the practice plan is a valuable tool. If you just have somebody come in and you say, hey, it's defensive endies, you go with the defensive line. I made this mistake. I tell you a mistake that I made. I've made it with receivers coaches and DBs coaches at times, is to say, because there's never been a problem with offensive line coach because I'm running it, right? It's never really been a problem with the backfield because, we've got the stance and the steps and everything. But there's a little more, like, for me personally, I have a little more leeway with, say, receiver blocking, or like as long as you know the routes, like the receivers, what they're doing. I've had more leeway with technique of press man coaching. Like, I'm willing to, it's press man, but there's multiple schools of thought on press man. And so I've allowed more leeway in other position groups, and realized very quickly that wasn't, like, allowing leeway in the defensive line is a massive mistake. There's no leeway. There's spill the football. God dang it. If you can't spill a down block, like, you cannot, nobody can do this. So those were massive mistakes of just saying, hey, you played this in college. You'll figure it out. It's not that way. That is a massive mistake to just say you'll be fine. When I coached it, I think a really smart thing that we did at Ellsworth, there were a lot of things that I didn't love when I was at Ellsworth. And then, college, you have a lot more time sometimes. But one of the first things that we did, maybe the first day that we were there, spent the entire day, every coach presenting now at the time we called them everyday drills, and I'd recommend against that. But every coach had 5 everyday drills. And they presented every single one of the drills. Now, they got to come up with the drills. They were hired to be college football coaches. They got to come up with the drills and present the drills and teach the drills and teach them to the room full of coaches and get attacked. And our head coach would attack you. And other coaches would ask questions, but our head coach would absolutely attack you. He would break you down. He would make you cry. He didn't care. But that was extremely valuable from the standpoint of, you didn't go out there and run a drill that you had never taught and that you hadn't had all the questions asked. And so, that's a valuable thing to do, is to explain those drills and teach those drills, and, make sure that the person who's going out to do those drills, honestly, if you had the time, you would want them to teach these drills back to me like I've never done them. Like, let me show you. I've gone out with assistant coaches and had to teach other assistant coaches, show all the other coaches your drills and that kind of stuff. So if you have time before, but
great off-season.
Yeah, it's great off-season development.
I would have never. I'm all about rehearsals in the military, but I never would have thought about let's go out and rehearse practice. But by God, you should, to see how it fits and works.
Yeah, and so to me, I think that's what a lot of our spring and summertime work is, and I think that's a value of spring practice. But even if spring practice is official, Virginia, we don't have spring practice, but we have our guys and we can do whatever with them, and just with no pads. And I would tell my guys, and this is easier if you've been doing it for 20 years and they know what you know. But I would tell them sometimes, like, I'm just trying this out. I just want to see. And I would just try a drill out with them. Now, if you've never done that, if you don't have that level yet, then you might want to do it with some adults first. So they can go, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
But yeah, all of these things are tools. So having all of the detail figured out is tools for you to have.
A lot of your points here were kind of based around, contact with the kids, practice and execution on that side. I think your philosophy and your communication of your philosophy, we've had the episode before we talk about you got to have the hard conversations, right? So sometimes you've just got to, if something is a friction point, you have to communicate to get rid of that, eliminate that friction point, whatever it is. You're a big 90-minute practice plan guy. There are going to be guys out there who are going to be lollygagging around at practice because they feel like or are used to having a crap ton of time, right? And so that could build a friction point. You're constantly trying to have to push them around. And you talk about feeling like you're coaching all alone. Now all of a sudden they're getting nothing done and you're getting what should be group or team or something besides Indy. And like, you've got to continuously whistle them down, and they get there and the technique sucks because they've been doing one thing and one thing only, and it wasn't really what needed to be fixed. So, those are all things that communication will help eliminate that if you can communicate it in writing or in verbally, whatever. But also, we've gotten in this world of like AI. So this year we're using Winning Edge Performance Analytics to do all of our in-game tagging. So we get, like at halftime, we'll have realistic numbers of what we're seeing, what's working, what's not working, what players have gotten hot. And we just can't see it because honestly, you're just, you kind of go out and do one play at a time, right? In a game. And the greats are good at setups and execution of the next knockout play, and we're going to be there. But not everybody on staff can see that yet. So it's just a tool that allows us to do that. But if you don't ever walk people through why you're using these tools, and honestly just come out and say, like, we are using this is going to be the way, we are going to have a 90-minute practice plan. It's not like, hey, we're eliminating down from 3 hours down to wherever we can get it. No, we're at 90 minutes, or we're going to use this analytical program, or we're going to use whatever it is. You've got to be able to communicate those expectations and the reasons why. I just think that's going to prevent those friction points. But that, I believe, and if you're not getting what you think you should be getting out of a coach, okay, so you kind of talked on the youth level, but a lot of this goes on at the varsity level too. We talked about Coach Terry, Dylan Terry's my first head coach. And honestly, he was probably swimming that year, just trying to keep his head above water. First time him doing it with a bunch of first timers around him. He didn't really have a lot going on for him there because we weren't doing much. But for him to if he could have just stepped back and said, this is the way I want to do whatever it is because of this. Like, I honestly don't feel like I understood run fits in the 4-3 in my first year. So we ended up going to he ended up having to change the scheme to just simplify it down for the coaches he was allotted, right? So still coming out and communicating, being very blunt and upfront with, this is the issues we're having. This is how we're going to fix them. This is the tool I'm putting in place, or this, you're not using it. Use this tool better, whatever it is. But you got to be able to communicate with the coaching staff. And you might get, the next point we're going to get to is getting that buy-in from the coaching staff. Communication, having the system, and this may be the first episode I've ever seen it just build up here, but you got to have the stuff in place to communicate to them, to get them to buy in. And yes. I know that like 100%, it definitely goes from point 1, 2, and 3.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Is you've got to know your philosophy and you've got to know your system. You've got to be able to communicate it with them. And it's no different than communicating with a player, or, you're going to have to make these same communications with a player. But there's the element of authority that you have with a player. And if you're a 25, 30-year head coach with a track record, and you have a 22-year-old kid who's just breaking in, just got out of college and wants to be a football coach, you're going to have an element of authority with them. But if, let's say that you take a head coaching job and you're 30 years old and it's your first head coaching job, and you inherit 3 coaches who have been there for, a decade, 20 years, whatever, there's no element of authority with you, right? You've got to get them to buy into what you want to do.
Right.
Otherwise, you are going to have infighting. You're going to have problems because they've got the ear of the community, right? They know that they went to school with those. It's always the coaches, the coaches who grew up in that school system. Like, you better get them to buy in, because the parents are, and this is more of your rural and everything like that. It's not the same in some of your, we have different things going on, but like the guys that have been there for a long time. Like, you got to get them to buy in and believe in this stuff. And so that goes to the why. And so that it kind of, while it builds, it also comes full circle back to, this is my philosophy, and this is why this is what we do in this system. And this is how it works. And I can explain to you exactly how it works, and that will create the buy-in. So, for example, we can go with very simple examples of, why do I align the strong safety 5x5 when everybody else puts him up on the line, or 3x3, or puts him tighter? Why do I align him wider? And I could be like, well, Jim Reed told me to, and he's done a whole lot more football than you've ever done in your life. And he said, align where he's going and meet him on the way, because they got the fastest kid in the county or the city or the district or whatever standing back there at running back taking a toss pitch. And you've got your guy that's your strong safety, and he's not as good as your free safety, and he's not as good as your Mike backer, and he's standing out there, and he's got to stop that guy. Well, he can't have to turn and run and chase him. He needs to beat him on the way. I could tell you all of that, but I could also explain to you that 5x5 is because we live and breathe, and we will live and die by the umbrella run fits, and we are going to prevent explosive plays. And the explosive plays happen as long as I keep him under that umbrella. I've got 6-7 other guys that can make the tackle. But if he gets outside of that umbrella, especially if I'm in a cover one, but in any case, my corner is deep, it's an explosive play probably. My corner is probably my worst tackler. So if he gets outside of me, it's an explosive play. If I keep him inside of me, even if that space is larger, then he is going to, and I can talk about, a line where he's going to meet him on the way. I can tell him force means force to change of direction. I can use all these words, but I can explain exactly why we're going to do that. Even better bonus is when I can show you. But, especially if it's your first time doing it, if you can explain, the more you can explain, again, in a quick, simple way, this is what I want to do. And I think that's one of the benefits of some, and I know, like, of JDFB, of, learning from somebody like Kenny, learning from somebody who's had to figure out how to teach this to a lot of people, not just their own players, but to a lot of people coming from different backgrounds, like figuring out how to teach this stuff to somebody who's from Australia, figuring out how to teach this to somebody who's from Argentina, figuring out how to teach this to somebody who's from France, figuring out how to teach this to somebody who's teaching 12-man, who's teaching 8-man, figuring out how to teach this to coaches who are all over, some of them, all over the country, doing all sorts of different stuff, all sorts of different backgrounds, all sorts of different terminologies, learning how to say it in a faster, simpler, shorter way. It's certainly a shortcut for you if you're just figuring out how to do this. You can figure it all out for your own system, but it took a good 10 years, and there's still some process, but then there's the bigger picture stuff and then there's other things like, why do we onside every time? And I could explain to you the idea of added possession, getting extra possessions and all that sort of stuff, but it's a lot easier for me to just tell you the fastest kid is standing back there on the 5-yard line. This kicker can't kick it past the 15. This is the ultimate spread offense play. There is no play with more space, more grass for the fastest kid on the team to run than kicking it back there. Now, I could try to sky it, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind sky kicking. But it sure is a lot easier to do onsides, and we steal an extra possession or two every once in a while. And so that's why I onside every time. Is it because I want to get the ball every time? No. It's because I'm okay with the ball being at the 47. Because it's not, I don't have to call my defense out. Or I have to call my defense. I'll call my field goal block team out, right? Yeah. So, but then there's the explanation of why with the 90-minute practice plan. What's the philosophy behind the 90-minute practice plan? The 90-minute practice plan philosophy is, number one, is containers principle. Things will expand to the time that you give them or shrink. But also, we all know these kids' attention spans aren't what they used to be, supposedly. Although I had no attention span, I still have no attention span. And I get tired. By 2 hours, I'm done. I'm like, what are we doing? 90 minutes, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done fast. It's going to be high pace. We're going to keep the kids engaged, and we're going to get them home. They're going to be fresh. There's going to be no excuse for these kids to tell their, the mom, he's got to work on his grades. He's going home at 4:15. What are you talking about? Like he 6 hours isn't enough for him to work on his grades. I know he's still up texting at 2:00 in the morning. So don't tell me that this 90 minutes is the problem. I'll let him out of weightlifting. Don't take him off the football team. Okay. Weightlifting's only 30 minutes in season anyway, but I'll make it work. So that's the philosophy. The philosophy is that by the end of the season, we're not burned out. Like coaches feel. You're going to feel so much. I know you're used to 3-hour practice, and I know you love it. But hey, man, just think. You get to go home, and well, maybe for some guys this is not a selling point, but you get to go home and see your wife and your kids.
Hey, that's a big point, though. Some people don't want to go home. They don't.
Tell their wife, be like, this is why we're doing it.
Right.
I just want you to know that practice ends. Yeah, I just want you to know practice ends at 4:40, and I'm telling them to be out of here by 5:15. We got a little meeting, but then we're gone. I just want you to know that practice doesn't end at 7:15. I just want you to make sure you know.
We're going to be in so much trouble.
That is not going to create buy-in with your staff, but
the wives will love you.
But I mean, everything has a why behind it. Everything has a reason behind it, and I can explain it. I can tell you what it is. I can tell you, this is the why behind what we do on the offensive line. This is the why behind what we do in the passing game. This is the why. Everything has a why. And you may have other ideas, but none of this is not thought out. And then where I'll add one more step in this is if you truly understand your philosophy and truly understand your systems, it goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago. I can take your ideas and your suggestions, and I can make them work in our system. Not all of them, but some of them. So my system, if I have this rigid system that will not, that I don't, I think if you truly understand any system, you can adapt it. And this goes to when you're the position coach or the assistant coach and the head coach doesn't believe what you believe and doesn't work what you work. We've gotten real good at JDFB of putting the pill in the cheese kind of thing. And like, I want to be a 3-4. And it's like, okay, cool. What's the 3-4 look like? And he's like, 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. And you're like, okay, what's it look like? I just told you. And you're like, you actually do the investment. You know that like the purpose of the 3-4 and the thought process isn't the 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. That doesn't matter. But I can take all of that and I can take that input and then I can apply the umbrella to it. And I can apply all of the things to that 3-4. And I can give that head coach the 3-4 that he wants. But with all of the principles, even though maybe I thought a 4-2 would be better, but I can give him the 3-4 with all of the principles and everything applied to it. I could run a 3-3. He says, I want to run the 3-3. And you know that the 3-3, really, I'm just creating fronts. So I'll create those fronts that I want because that's the way that we teach them. And you can put the pill in the peanut butter or the cheese or whatever, so the dog will eat it. And we can make it work that way. And so even as an assistant, as a position assistant, you can do the same thing. Working within your position group, I can go to that coach and I can say, explain to me your run fits, explain to me the ASCA. I can get it all laid out. Maybe they don't use those terms, but I can know what they give me and get the guidelines, the guardrails from them. And then now that I have exactly what they've told me, this is the playground that I have to work with. I know who I am. I know what I believe. I know what I've learned. I know what I've studied. And within the playground and the guardrails that they've given me, I can make my impact that way. I can do it. I can do it within the rules, without causing a problem, without causing infighting, without sabotaging my head coach. I can work within the rules. Because by the way, I do this all the time with coaches, and this is the last thing. I do this all the time with coaches. If you think you know better and you try to force that against the will of your head coach or your coordinator, you are the problem. No matter how much better your stuff is, when there is that miscommunication, you are the problem, because ultimately the person who's ahead of you is it's above you. That's just it.
Yep, 100%. I just have one piece here, and I just think it's consistency. So if you feel like right now you're coaching alone because it's your first year, people haven't bought in yet, you just be consistent. Even your first year, like I still fully believe that good jobs don't come open, right?
Not many.
So if you saw a job posting and you applied and you interviewed against a bunch of people and you got a job, there's a really good chance it's not a very good job, or the last guy wouldn't have left. Maybe you're following a retiring great, which even then, I'm not sure that's a good job. It could be the best team in the nation.
Not a
I
good
don't know that that's a good job. But my point is that it is highly likely that you have just taken over a team that's not ready to compete. They're not going to win a lot of ball games until your stuff has its chance to take effect. It might be getting a Cantor's class out because they're still bought into the old coach way. It might be waiting out an assistant coach who just needs to go on. It might be, there's a lot of it might be's, okay? But stay consistent. Year 2, year 3, when your stuff starts working, the kids know what's going on. They've learned the system. Look, we're in our second year installing over at Bristow, and Cameron's already ranting and raving. I don't know if ranting and raving is the right word. He's elated about how much easier it is this year and how much quicker he's getting things installed. And the kids just remember what all these tags were from last year. He's not having to go from scratch. We're going to look so much better. Our goals, we did our season goals today at a coaches meeting, and they're leaps and bounds ahead of last year, right? And we went 2 rounds deep in the playoff, or 3. 2 rounds deep in the playoffs. And I'm still not sure that everybody was bought in. There's probably still people on staff that are like, I still don't like this stuff. But they will be. You just got to give it time. So just be consistent. Keep speaking the gospel, whatever your message is, your philosophy, your way of doing things, your why. Stay after that stuff, man. And just let consistency push the friction points out or get people bought in. But success will come through your consistency, I think.
Yeah, it's going. Yep.
All right, Joe, I think we checked all the boxes. That's it for today. If you got something useful from this episode, man, pay it forward. Pass the podcast along to someone else in the football world. Help others by making the game great together. I am all over the place. Sorry, guys. It's been one of those days.
Sure.
Tonight, we talked about how to develop a strong coaching staff, develop your philosophy and systems, communicating with your coaching staff, and then getting buy-in from the entire coaching staff. Last week, we talked about our players aren't executing on game day. Next week, when you show up for season 19, episode 2, it will be talking about getting our offensive line to stop being overpowered. Let's pay the bills one more time and get out of here, Joe.
Defensive system. You need one. I mean, that's one of the key. If you're offensive or defense, and quite frankly, the guide that I've talked about, the free guide that I put together, which is what you need to know to build the ultimate defensive football coaching system, and I've been talking about for months and months and months, applies to the offensive side too. So whichever place you're going, building an offensive system, building a defensive system. But we see over and over again that coaches coming in with that stack of plays, they're overcomplicating, they're miscommunicating, they don't have everything together. As soon as we get those coaches putting in a true system, everything starts to change. It really is a massive difference. And your players will play faster. Your coaches have more confidence, more buy-in, more belief. You start winning more football games. So I've got that free guide. What you need to know to build the ultimate defensive football coaching system. You're going to get the blueprint for building a defensive system that works to simplify your playbook, get your players to buy in, and take control of the game. And you can download that at joedanielfootball.com/system. It is free. Take the guesswork out of coaching, build your ultimate defensive system, and turn your football program around this season. Again, joedanielfootball.com/system.
Athletic speed and movement. If you ain't first, you're last.
Boom.
Wait, what was the good one? We had a good one earlier. I already forgot it. Oh, man. Oh, I don't have it on here. I have it on the other one. Anyway, all right. athleticspeedmovement.com. Jump over there today. There is an in-season program for you. I realize you're getting this and you've probably already started practicing. You can modify your practice schedule to get in 20 minutes of training 3 days a week, 2 days a week. You can make it happen.
2 days a week. That's all you do, 2 days a week. It is 25 minutes, 2 days a week.
There you go. I promise you can make that happen. You still have time to install. You will be good. athleticspeedmovement.com. Which cells are opening and closing this 14th day of August, I believe?
I believe we have Game Film Masterclass coming soon. Could be Football Coaching 101. I know we have Game Film Masterclass coming soon, though. So be on the lookout for that coming up soon.
Just to confirm, there is now a JDFB store, and people can buy things anytime.
Currently, yes.
But if one of these specials, that's when you're going to get
we run the
special rate. So you get
special rate, usually some special bonuses, add-ins and things that when we do those special offers. Yeah.
So if you missed anything this year, you can still find it.
Only on our email list. So I don't post that anywhere. I don't even think we put it on social media.
Better sign up for the email.
Get on the email list. How do you get on the email list? Go download the free defensive playbook or defensive system guide.
Love it. Social media, I'm at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter/X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. I have a website I've not looked at in months. I need to do that. And patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting. Jump over there. I help you do whatever you need done. A lot of graphics work this late in the season. I'm probably not going to be able to help you with X's and O's as much as some of these other guys are doing. But by God, we can celebrate your kids, and that's where it's at. Joe, where you at, sir?
At Football Info on Twitter, X, whatever. At Joe Daniel Football on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.com/Joe Daniel Football. And I feel like I'm leaving one out, but email Joe at joedanielfootball.com if you have any questions about any of the offers, the site, anything like that. And obviously, danielfootball.com is where you'll find all our stuff. And inside JDFB Premium Coaching Systems, we've got support for coaches all year long. In fact, we'll be starting even before this comes out for our JDFB Premium Coaching Systems members, which you can get into at joedanielfootball.com/membership or from our store. We have every week this season, Monday nights, except for Labor Day, we'll do it Tuesday or something like that. We'll have to adjust the podcast, I guess. But every week, Monday nights, we're doing live Chalk Talk Q&A calls where you can ask questions. You can get answers. If you're not there, we record it and send the recording out the next day. Game plan ideas, adjustments, solutions for problems that come up. Coaches aren't buying in, players aren't buying in, players aren't getting it, whatever it is, you got a tough opponent. We are there every Monday night. So if you got football questions, you need to be in JDFB Premium Coaching Systems. That's where we do it. And the Chalkboard Forum, obviously, is always open for business.
Love it. Podcast is at the FBCP on Twitter. That's it for this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. Make sure you're subscribed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is you get your podcast, so you don't miss what's coming next. If you've been learning from the show, leave us a quick review. It does. I know on some of them you have to listen like 3 or 4 episodes. Mm-hmm. You're going to want to do that anyway. Shoot us a review. Thanks for listening. And as always, coach simple, play fast, win.